Hello, and happy Sunday evening again. It's Sunday evening again. Oh my goodness, weeks are going so fast. Hello everyone, welcome to this Talk to the Entities Facebook Live about the 4 cornerstones of Talk to the Entities thingies that I have been talking about in the past few weeks. Today's the last one. Oh my goodness. Hi Paula. Today we'll be talking about cooperation. And that is actually something that before the Talk to Entities, the 4 cornerstones or the things that were always mentioned were clearing, communicating and receiving. But cooperation was recently added into that thing. And it's not something that is like new, but it just was so little used or practiced that it wasn't really even mentioned as a separate thing in the manual before. But now it is, and partially because of all the work that we have been doing with entities. And Paula is saying that her calendar is saying it's Monday. Your calendar is lying to you. It's not cooperating with you very well. It's trying to dominate you. And there is maybe a little clue for cooperation right there. So first of all, I will just ask you, what is it that you have decided that cooperating with entities means? What is it? And what is it about? And everything that is, maybe you want to discern and create that and let go of all the ideas that you have about it. And cooperating is really not something that we have done with entities for a long time. We have really just shut them off and have this like massive fear of entities, fear or like hatred or disregard. And whenever you have any of those things, you cannot cooperate with someone, whether it's an entity or something else. And from the manual, there is this quote, I think it's from some dictionary or something, that says, to cooperate is to work or act together or jointly for a common purpose or benefit. That does not mean slaving. A lot of the time people think that when you start playing or creating with entities, it means that either they are your slaves or you are their slave. So either they have to do what you say or you have to do what they say. None of that is cooperating. That is literally dominating, trying to slave. Either you slave entities or you make yourself their slave. But to cooperate is to go like, okay, cool. So what's your point of view here? What are you capable of? What's possible for you? What's my point of view here? What am I capable of? And what is possible for me? And when we put that together, what becomes available? So this is very much not just cooperating with entities, but in general cooperating with anyone. And it is about including, creating from inclusive world. I'll tell you an example from my own life about cooperating with entities. When I found Access, I was living elsewhere, and then I moved to Finland again. Funny that made me yawn. Moved to Finland again, and I was super excited about Access, and I wanted to do this everywhere, and I was like, going like, oh, where should we do classes or swaps or something? And then I encountered this massive resistance. A lot of it came in the form of people going like, what is that? I don't like it. But also just as an energy that was like, ooh, okay, there's this massive resistance to everything that I'm trying to create here with Access tools. And then I was like, whoa, I learned about entities and realizing how much of that energetic resistance was from entities. And then even more forward on, I learned that it was actually the nature spirits that were not so keen on Access. And you might think why? There's all kinds of different reasons why. But anyways, one of the things was that they were so not happy for being left out. And regardless of, you might think that nature spirits would be super excited about Access and consciousness and all of that, but we have left them out so long that, like, what makes us think that they would be excited about something that we are bringing? Because so far we have been excluding them so much. So even if it's a great idea, but when you have excluded somebody so much and you just go like, you're going to do this now, how excited are they going to be? Even if it's a great idea. So that's basically would again be dominating and going like, you're going to do this because I've decided it's great. And what I had to do then was to include all of these beings, these nature spirits, and go like, hey guys, so this is actually what I'm doing here, and sort of like explaining like, this is what I'm looking to create, and what's your point of view here, and do you need more information, and going like, hey, like, what's, like, if I'd like to do a class here, what would that require? And sometimes it is really just for asking the entities, like, and letting them know like, hey, this is what I'm planning, is it okay? And a lot of the times it is okay if you ask, but if you don't ask, then it's a no. So it is so much about just including, and not just entities, but in general, what can you and who can you include? You could also look at it as if you look at a family, and if there's one person in a family who chooses for everybody, like, you're going to do this now, and doesn't listen to anybody, don't ask for their points of view or anything, their preferences, how well is that going to work? But just simply asking like, hey, what do you get about this? I would like to do something like this. And just including people into that conversation will create way greater result. And like I said before, most of our, like, the past hundreds of years on this planet, we have learned to not include entities. We have learned to judge them, to judge everybody who does include them, even though before it was way more practiced in a way. Not necessarily in a more conscious way, but at least it was more practiced. Entities were more included in our daily life. What would it take to start including entities again? And a lot of the talk to entities, that is also created with entities, in co-creation with entities and people with bodies, as well as every talk to entities class. We always have to include entities. And it's very interesting sometimes when you are facilitating a talk to the entities class, and if you're looking at who could host that class, and if the person is scared of entities or is not willing to create together with entities, it doesn't really ever work, because it's like having a team, but you're only working with half of the team members, and to the others you are not talking to. So it gets a little weird. There was some other example too that I just got in my head and it disappeared. Yes. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is how much, again, the nature spirits are coming up a lot in this conversation. So I wonder how much they would actually like to co-create with us and collaborate and cooperate with us. Before, people used to live more in the countryside, and they got their living from the earth and like farming and all of that. And then in the past years, there's been so much of that, the countryside being, dying. People are moving out, and the land doesn't support people anymore. And we think that it's because of the way that the society is changing and people are moving to towns and blah, blah, blah. But how much of that is because we no longer cooperate with nature spirits? We no longer cooperate with the earth. So it's really hard for the earth to support us because we're not cooperating with it. We're not including it. And before, there were always all these different kinds of rituals and different things that people did when they were farming, for example, and they actually included the nature spirits in the area and allowed them to contribute and received also. Another thing is that you cannot really cooperate if you don't receive. If there is no receiving, then there is no cooperation. And the previous live that I did was about receiving, so if you didn't see that, you can check that out. It was from last Sunday. So, yeah, who else could you include into your life and living now that would expand your life and their life? Because it is really about expanding together towards the common or similar destination. Like Access, Gary Douglas started at one point saying that Access is a conglomeration of idiots heading the same direction. So bringing all these people together, who maybe if they are alone might be a bit of idiots, but when we work together, we will get where we're going. So, yeah, that is my invitation today, the last edition of this 4-part series of the 4 cornerstones of Talk to the Entities and the Entity Work. If you were left with any questions, you can let me know. Let's see what we'll create with them. And also inviting you to the next Talk to the Entities class that I have in English in February. It will be online and in Sweden. If you can travel there, let's meet there and see what we can co-create there. A lot of nature spirits there, so that is definitely going to be one of the topics of the class. And also business hours in English coming in February. Another way to learn how to really co-create with entities. Cool. And how does it get any better? What else is now possible? And what else is now possible from more awareness? It always makes everything easier and greater and more fun. So, yeah. Thank you so much and see you somewhere. Bye-bye.